Back Alley Cat.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's your fitness trainer, Joey, coming at you with the Crossbar podcast number 2. Before we get started, in the link below, I have a link to a Discord I have just recently set up. If you guys want to join, we got some tactic talks where you can talk with me about anything tactical. You can trash talk. You can put your own videos on there, and you might have a chance to be in the podcast. So go ahead, check it out. Link will be down below in the description. But with all that out of the way, we got an exciting weekend to talk about. So first up was the big game that everyone was looking forward to, Liverpool versus United at Anfield. And this game, there were no winners, but the biggest losers were the people who were excited to see an actual game there, not realizing that Jose Mourinho was looking for a point. So I guess we could say for both teams, it wasn't really a win, but it wasn't really a loss. I'd give them both solid ties here. Liverpool needed to not lose. They have been struggling recently in the Premier League, so they needed something to get away with something here, but they probably should have won at home. If this was at Old Trafford, I would definitely give them a higher win from this. But you know, United, they needed to go into here. They needed to grab a point. They needed to show that they could compete with some top-level teams, but they lost major ground to Man City. So, you know, a game with a tie. Both teams needed way more points than what they had, and United simply just went in with a tie and got it. So I would give the advantage to United this weekend. Man City versus Stoke, winner, Man City. Ooh, 7-2 final score. We got Man City out here getting 5-goal differential added to the top of the league, and they got a 2-point gap now over United. Gabriel Jesus with 2 goals and Kevin De Bruyne looking like the best player in the Premier League right now. Nobody wants to play Man City. As far as Stoke City, I give you guys a loss here. I know you guys are going into Man City, who are clearly the class of the league, and it was most likely going to be a loss. You would have gotten a big win if you guys just got a draw out of this, but I can't give you guys a tie simply because you gave up way too much for what was looking like to be an almost certain loss. For that, you want to just I guess if you lost 3-2, I would be willing to give you guys more of a tie than a loss this weekend, but a loss like that, you just can't get anything out of. So next up for the big top ones, we have Tottenham versus Bournemouth. Winner, Tottenham. It was a 1-0 win, but you gained points on United, who dropped 2 as well. You kept the distance the same between yourselves and Man City at the top, and a lot of people below you have lost as well, so you gained a bigger distance from them as well. So it's a great weekend for Tottenham. Losers, Bournemouth. Considering some of the weekend results, this loss just puts you closer to that bottom cellar where no team wants to be. So you're gonna have to turn it around, Bournemouth. I love the cherries at the coming up playing in the Premier League, but you guys got to do better and get yourself out of this relegation, or at least in a better footing for the relegation battle. Next up, we have Watford versus Arsenal. Winner, clearly Watford. You know, welcome to the top 4, guys. Let's see how long you guys can hold it there in the top 4. You've been playing great throughout these first 7-8 games. They definitely deserve to be in the top 4. They've gotten some pretty solid results. They've been very good away from home, but I think this was their first win at home, but we'll see how long they can hold it there. Losers from this one, clearly Arsenal. You completely blow it. You know, this weekend, United dropped 2 points. That was a chance to go up, close the gap on them. You stay up with Tottenham, your rivals, and you would be able to leapfrog Chelsea and get into the top 4. Instead, you take a loss, and now now you drop down to 6th place, and it's simply not good enough. You had a 1-0. You were up 1-0. You gave up a weak penalty. You missed a clinical chance to make it 2-0 with Ozil, and you drop more points, and that's simply not acceptable especially if you want to be considered title contenders or even make Champions League, because there's a lot more competition for that Champions League spot right now. But we go to Crystal Palace versus Chelsea. Winners for this one, Crystal Palace getting your first and second goals of the season and your first win of the season. Just keep the momentum going. Strike while the iron's hot here. You guys could, one more win and you guys are right out of that relegation cellar right there. The loser is Chelsea. I know I talk about Arsenal having a tough weekend, but geez, this loss should hurt Chelsea way more than would hurt Arsenal's loss. Arsenal at least went into a very good team that they should have won, but ended up losing. Chelsea, these guys hadn't even scored a goal yet all season, and you gave them 2 and their first win. Defending that title is looking very hard. Defending your Champions League spot should be difficult after this game. I don't know how you're going to be able to get through there. So now we're going to go over some of the other winners, ties, and losers in England. So winners here, we got Swansea, 3 points, won, and currently out of the relegation zone by 3 points for now, and got some goal difference built up through there. West Ham as well, getting points against the current 7th place in the table on the road. West Ham looks like they're struggling this season. They kind of struggled last season as well, so getting any kind of points like that is going to be helpful, and going on the road to a difficult Burnley and getting a point, definitely helpful this season. Ties in England for the top flight, we've got Newcastle and Southampton. Both of you guys splitting the points in Southampton, it's hard to tell. Both of you guys are now in the top of the table, so you can't really complain about where you are after this, but certainly one of you guys would have loved to have gotten all 3. Both of you, actually. Not sure as well. Getting a tie here is Burnley. You dropped 2 points at home against a struggling West Ham. That kind of kept you from jumping into the top 4, top 5. But you guys are Burnley. You're top of the table right now. You're usually in a relegation fight for all the time I've ever known you to be in the Premier League. So you're this high up this early in the season. Enjoy the ride for as long as you can. And then we've got Brighton getting points away. Getting points, getting a tie is always important for newcomers in the Premier League. But, you were at home and you were taking on a very struggling team, and that should have been a win. That should have been 3 points that you guys nail right there to help secure yourself, at least later on. Later on in the season, it's going to be very difficult to get points, and points are going to be very valuable whenever you can get them. You're clearly going to be in a relegation fight come the end of the season. So I think 2 points here lost should definitely be hitting a little bit as well, but you still got a point, which is still, points are valuable. Losses for this weekend in England's top flight. Everton. Oh my God, how much money did you guys spend? You spent an insane amount of money to see this off season. You obviously got rid of Lukaku, which is definitely a huge hurt. But you're supposed to get Rooney, and you got a few other big name signings over the summer, and all you can manage to do is a draw versus newly promoted Brighton. You're 16th place right now, and you deserve a lot lower than that. You guys need to get yourself together. This is not an Everton side that I know or I remember from way before, from the Moyes era to the Martinez era. You guys had a lot more fight in you. I would generally see Everton in 7th, 8th place pushing and competing for those top spots, and being all the way down in 16th place after spending this much money, you just need to get something together. Huddersfield as well, you guys had a chance to jump into the top part of the table, but you dropped points at Swansea, so that puts you guys are now 1 point away from that relegation cluster that's sitting right below you, all tied on 8 points. Swansea are a struggling side. This is one of those teams that's going to potentially be in a relegation battle, and you guys can potentially be there as well. So you gotta at least go away and get a tie out of this. Prevent Swansea from getting those extra 2 points and getting yourself a valuable point. You can't go away and lose stuff like that. So looking around the rest of England, we got the winners and losers here. Winners in England so far are Wolves and Cardiff, sitting in the guaranteed promotion spots in the championship. We got Sheffield United, Bristol City, Preston North End. Fun fact, I beat them in a friendly back in my playing days. And Leeds United all sit in the playoff spots for the championship. Obviously, going from the championship to the Premier League is an insane boost to your overall revenue simply by being in the Premier League and getting access to that insane TV deal. So obviously going to be winners from there. Sitting in the League One promotions, we've got Wigan Athletic and Shrewsbury in the guaranteed promotion spot, with Bradford City, Rotherham, Charlton, and Oxford United sitting in the playoff spots. Again, going from League One to the championship is another huge boost to revenue. It's definitely a great increase in the play as well. So moving up from there is it's great for clubs. Sitting in the League Two promotion, we have Notts County, Exeter City, Luton Town. And in the playoff spots, we got Accrington Stanley, go Stanley. We got Wickham Wanderers, we got Newport County, and Coventry. Obviously, going from League 2 to League 1 is not a huge increase, but moving up a league that gives you either a little bit of a buffer in between league from going from league football to non-league football, and it also gets you that a step closer to going to the championship. So if you can go from League 2 to League 1 and then hold there for a little bit and then muster up a push, you can get into the championship pretty well. So all winners so far this weekend in the lower divisions in England. Losers in England, we got Burton, Sunderland, and Bolton all sitting in the relegation to League One. If you get relegated right out of the championship to League One, it is very hard to get back from there. They say getting from the championship to the Premier League is very difficult after the first season relegated. If you go from championship to League One, your finances are completely cut, and getting back in there is very difficult to do. Bolton and Sunderland were both very big Premier League stays, so it's kind of sad and kind of or kind of surprising to see such Premier League namestays and such Premier League household names from 10 years ago sitting at the bottom of the championship. Sitting at the bottom of League One, you have Wimbledon, you have Gillingham, you've had Northampton, and you have Plymouth Argyle all sitting in the League One relegation to go down to League Two. Obviously, it's not a huge difference, and as you can see, from League One to League Two, there are 4 teams promoted, so getting back into League One from there shouldn't be too hard, but obviously you don't want to do that. And then in League Two, Forest Green and Chesterfield are both sitting in the relegation spots to go to non-league football. Relegated from league football to non-league football is almost a death sentence for a lot of clubs. Forest Green were a recently promoted team. I don't know if they got promoted this year or the year before, so it shouldn't be too hard for them to come back. They have invested a lot of money. There is a few stories out there about that, but Chesterfield, definitely one of these league football clubs that keep going. So let's move over to Spain. Winners of the weekend, Barcelona get a tie at Atletico, keeping a 5-point lead at the top. Definitely a huge result going into Atletico, and with all the stuff going around Catalonia right now and in Barcelona, a lot of politics just holding, just a distraction on the side. It's obviously going to affect a lot of things, but Barcelona being able to go into Atletico and keeping a 5-point lead at the top with just a tie over Atletico is a huge result for them. Playing in the Bernabeu is one of the toughest places to go and play, especially against Atletico right now with Diego Simeone's sides. So getting a tie there is a pretty big win for them. Real Madrid getting a win and claiming second place right now. Still 5 points back from Barcelona, but getting back to winning ways, making up 2 points in their gap to go from 7 points to 5 points 7 points to 5 points away from Barcelona at the top. Definitely a win for them this weekend. Valencia got a very emphatic 6-3 win, I believe, and moving up to 5th in the table. And we also have Leganes, a very up-and-coming club, with a win this weekend, putting them in 6th place in Spain right now. Getting a tie on this weekend as you got Atletico. You should win at home if you want to be title contenders, and you could have definitely kept Real Madrid from leapfrogging you and made it a 4-point gap between you and Barcelona. But you still took points off of Barcelona. You still came in, you still got a point, and you passed Sevilla to claim 3rd place right now, and you're only a point behind Real Madrid. So that's just a simple, they drop points and you gain some points to go right back up to there. So, and then losses for Spain right now, we got Sevilla losing to Bilbao and dropping from 2nd place to 4th. This was you found yourself in a little interesting spot in second place right there in Spain, definitely above some of the big money spenders. And with Barcelona dropping 2 points, you could have potentially gotten a win at against Bilbao and moved yourself closer, which would have always also been nice to just kind of be pushing for that title and maybe pull a little bit of an upset during the season. But you lose right there and you let both Madrid teams pass you like this. Probably not the best, but you're still in a pretty solid spot. And then we've got Las Palmas, Alaves, and Malaga all sitting in the relegation zone. Las Palmas, I believe they had Kevin Prince Boateng on their team. I don't know if they still do or not, but that's definitely not a great spot to be sitting in, although you're sitting in 18th, so you're not sitting in the cellar like former Champions League quarterfinalists, actually. Yeah, the quarterfinals is when they lost out to Dortmund. Malaga sitting in the relegation zone. Definitely not good for them. So moving over to France. In France, winners this weekend. PSG, a win on a tough road trip and gaining a 6-point lead at the top. You had a Thomas Meunier sealing with a brace there to help beat you. To help claim a very tough spot against Lyon. You got to take those wins while you still can. So PSG look pretty solid. They look like they might be running away with the French title. Saint Etienne also coming out of nowhere to take third place in the table with their win. Lyon getting a nice solid 3-2 win over second place Monaco, takes them to sixth. And they are only now 3 points away from Monaco and 1 point away from Saint Etienne in third. So even though they are in sixth place, they are very close to leapfrogging and getting into some of those Champions League points. And we also have Strasbourg 19th with a tie at home, giving them a 5-way tie with a bunch of other teams, putting them in and out of the relegation zone at the same time. Ties from this weekend, we've got Bordeaux and Nantes, who didn't take any points but didn't drop any points from there. Bordeaux probably slightly feels a little bit bigger of a loss on this little tip here, simply for being at home. But they didn't lose much ground, but they didn't make up much ground either this weekend. So you got to just give them a tie from the week. And then loss from this week, Marseille just getting a tie against the bottom feeders of Strasbourg means you drop to fourth in the table when you could have pushed up for a tie for second against with Monaco losing. And then obviously Monaco, the loss to Lyon on the road gives PSG another 3 points ahead of you. You guys won the title last season, and if you wanted to have any shot of title defense, you got to keep at least that 3-point gap from PSG up until you play them again and a chance to leapfrog them. You can't be losing to teams below you like Lyon. You have to separate yourself. You have to put yourself in that same category as PSG, where the rest of France is not good enough for us. And obviously, you showed now that the rest of France is probably as good as you guys. So you're now 6 points out from the title, and that's simply not going to be good enough if you want to have any chance of defending your title. So moving over to Italy, winners of this weekend, we have Lazio beating second place Juventus in Juventus, putting them third place in the table. It was a very impressive win there. Napoli holding off Roma in Rome, putting them 2 points clear at the top of Serie A. And definitely a surprise team this season. Obviously Juventus have been just running away with the league for the past, 5-6 years in Italy. So Napoli have always been that kind of team that's here and there, that's kind of pushing for titles, but always in the Champions League, in those Champions League spaces. And now all of a sudden they're sitting at the top of the Serie A when Juventus seems to be struggling. And then we also have Inter Milan. Aside from just beating your rivals, you also go 2 points away from the top of the table, and you're in second place. You're kicking your rivals while they're down. Captain Mauro Icardi getting back into the good graces with the Inter Milan fans with getting a hat trick against AC Milan. Definitely just a great weekend for Inter Milan fans. Losers this week in Italy, we've got Juventus losing at home for the first time in a while and dropping to fourth. Only on head-to-head, and it's not a good, it's not a good for the team looking to repeat the title in Italy again. They're obviously defending countless titles in a row, and there's still, you never look to just take a break for one season. You want to continuously push for that title. The defense is very old. Your goalkeeping is another problem as well. You've got a very old, he's a good goalkeeper, but he is very old, and it looks like you guys are just starting to lose that step, and you're gonna have to find some replacements real fast. Otherwise, this season's probably not gonna be in there. Other losers this weekend: Roma. And Rome has fallen. The fortress is no more. Your loss to Napoli puts you 9 points away from the title this year, and this is the one year that Juventus aren't running away with Italy. Perché, how is this? You've always been up there. You've always competed. You were always second place to Juventus's first, and now Juventus are down, and you guys are just dropping the ball here. This would be the chance to win in Italy, and you guys are just letting it fall by the wayside. AC Milan in here, and a chance to be relevant this year. You decide to go and lose to your rivals and drop down to 10th in the table, and add a kick to the groin while you're down. Inter can use that win to start a title run, being only 2 points out from first place. I mean, it's gotta hurt. You guys have been spending money as well, trying to become relevant in not only Italy but Europe as well, and you got to do better than losing to Inter Milan in dropping to 10th place in the table. That's just not good enough. So moving over to Germany, winners in Germany: Bayern Munich. Claim all 3 points, check. Add 5 goals to the goal differential, check. Make up 3 points on your first place rival, check. I mean, it seems on point for Jupp Heynck's Jupp Heynck's Bayern squad that's just ready to dominate again. That's not good. You're bringing back a coach whose last game won Bayern the treble right before Pep Guardiola took over, and now he looks to be right back and right on form right there. Not good for everyone else. Other winners this week: Red Bull Leipzig traveling into Dortmund and the yellow wall, and you just use a fury of an undead dragon to break down that yellow wall. You got ice in your veins, as cold as the king of winter. Well done, well done. And third place definitely deserves to be Leipzig's after this weekend. Mönchengladbach and Schalke with solid wins as well to bring them within 1 and 2 points off of fourth place. You can't be too shabby from the weekend. You're in European qualifying spots. You're close to Champions League qualifying spot or Champions League spots. Very well done this weekend. Ties from this weekend. I'll give this one to Augsburg. I can't give you guys a win for a tie result, but going into third place at the time, Hoffenheim, and coming out with a point means I can't put you guys anywhere near a loss. So you stay in the top half of the table. You went to what seems like a difficult place right now, and you got yourself a tie. Definitely for a team like Augsburg, that's a huge plus for them. So losses from this weekend in Germany: Dortmund, with a resurgent Bayern that does not need any help catching you to the top, at the top of the table, and you gave them even more help, and you allowed Red Bull Leipzig to beat you in Dortmund. So now you got Bayern, who are very close to closing you down, and Red Bull Leipzig are 3 points away from you. You went from no pressures to holy crap, please stop panicking, everyone, and that's not a good situation to be in. Hoffenheim, you got a loss this week. If you want to claim a top 4 spot and do well in the Bundesliga this year, you're going to have to do something stronger at home, and you're going to have to beat teams like Augsburg. If it's a team like Bayern coming in, or it's a team like Dortmund or Red Bull Leipzig, yeah, you can accept a draw at home. That's a pretty decent result. But a team like Augsburg, that's got to be a win. That's got to be a win. That's got to be all 3 points. Otherwise, you might as well just claim that this season you're trying not to be relegated and try not to get in that 16th or 17th place right now and avoid like a relegation or relegation playoffs. And that's not good enough for you guys. Other losers this week in Germany: we have Hertha Berlin, who decided to take a pregame knee, but they kept waiting for the United States anthem to play, forgetting that they're in Germany. In the meantime, Schalke put 2 past them. Hey fellas, stand up and concentrate on the foosball, not the political activism. You guys are in a relegation battle, and if you go down, we Americans don't want to invade Berlin for a 3rd time to keep the peace. Cut it out. All right, moving over to MLS winners. We got Toronto FC, 1st place overall. Supporters Shield clinched, and you're in playoffs, so you got that home advantage all the way through. pretty solid for the regular season there. NYCFC, Chicago Fire, Atlanta United, Columbus Crew, and New York Red Bulls all claiming playoff spots from the Eastern Division. Eastern Division is pretty much locked up. Going into this last week, it just might be a little bit of who plays who in the playoff spot, but Toronto FC is up top, and the rest of them are all in playoffs, which is, if you want to win the cup, you got to be in the playoffs. So well done from there. In the West, Vancouver Whitecaps, Portland Timbers, Seattle Sounders, Sporting Kansas City, and Houston Dynamo have all clinched playoff spots in the West, although the seeding is yet to be determined, as the gap between Houston and Kansas City, the gap between Kansas City and Seattle and Portland to Vancouver are all separated by 2 points. All of those things right there are separated by 2 points. So teams win, teams lose this final weekend, and all the seeding changes. First place can completely change all the way down to where Houston is. But all of those teams have qualified. So tied from MLS this weekend, we've got San Jose, FC Dallas, and Real Salt Lake. All three of those are up for the final spot. San Jose currently are in the playoff spot since they have more wins than FC Dallas, which is apparently the first tiebreaker instead of goal differential. Nice job there, MLS. But then you got FC Dallas on 43 points, tied with San Jose. And then just behind them with 42 points is Real Salt Lake. So this final week will decide a lot of future plans for a lot of people. Getting into the playoffs is definitely what you want to be doing as an MLS team, so it'll be interesting to see how that works. And then losers this week for the MLS, we have Minnesota United, Colorado Rapids, Los Angeles Galaxy, New England Revolution, Montreal Impact, Philadelphia Union, Orlando, DC United. All of these guys are out of playoffs. You're guaranteed losers for that one. It's got to regroup for next season. A few of these teams on there that have been mainstays in playoffs, looking specifically at you, Los Angeles Galaxy. New England Revolution, you've never been outstanding every season, but you've had some few moments here and there. And then DC United have long since been relevant in the MLS world. So what to look forward midweek? We've got Champions League fixtures and Europa League. So if you are on YouTube, you can put your predictions in the comment below, or you can come into the Discord and in the link below and make your bets here. If you get more of these right, which should be pretty hard since I think I've got these pretty on point right here, I'll give you a shout out on Friday's podcast. Maybe if you're around, I can bring you in to do some predictions on the weekend as well. But here we go. Here's my predictions for the Champions League. Real Madrid beating Tottenham at home. That should be a pretty solid one right there. Liverpool beat Maribor on the road. Liverpool have this offense just being held back by something, and Maribor will not have that same kind of defense that United has. Man City to get a close win over Napoli. I think Man City are hitting really good, but I don't think it'll be anywhere near like having a Stoke City playing from there. Sevilla tie Spartak Moscow in Russia. Feyenoord tie Shakhtar Donetsk. Apoel manages to hold Dortmund. Apoel is a very solid team. I think at home they can hold anyone to a tie. On the road they're very weak, and Dortmund coming off of a loss on the weekend. I'm not sure how well they're willing to go to Cyprus and try and get a win out of there. Leipzig will show their class in a win against Porto this week. Monaco bounced back and beat Besiktas. Atletico win against that Q team, Karabag. How did they manage to slide into Champions League? Enjoy this one. PSG to go to Belgium and return with multiple Anderlecht scalps and a win. Juventus struggled to beat an even more struggling Sporting side at home, regain that fortress that they had. Benfica and United, I feel like they're going to share the points in Portugal. United are just going to go there and try to get another point like they did against Liverpool. Barcelona show no love to the Greeks in a win against Olympiacos this week. Chelsea decide to picture Roma as Crystal Palace and get revenge and beat them this week. Bayern just beat up on Celtic in Munich this week, and CSKA tie Basel at home. So those are my Champions League. So make sure you get all of those Champions League picks, and then for the Europa League as well, pick 10 of these games that are playing in there and tell me what's going to happen through there. So I've got Arsenal beating Red Star Belgrade, Lyon going to Everton and winning, Villarreal wins at home, Lazio beats OGC Nice in France, Dynamo Kiev beats Young Boys in Ukraine. Marseille win at home. Bilbao tie at Östersund. Hertha Berlin get lost in Ukraine and tie Zorya. Braga show Ludogorets that they are the better of the Champions League has-beens in Portugal. Copenhagen get their third draw in a row in Zlin in the Czech Republic. And that's my 10 picks for the Europa League. So put in there all the Champions League Tuesday and Wednesday, and then pick 10 games from the Thursday games, and let me know how they're going to do. Let me know who's going to win or if they're going to tie. And it may seem like an impossible task to get more right than I do, but if you get your comments in before Champions League starts on Tuesday and you get more right than them, you'll get the full recognition you deserve and more on Friday's podcast. So I've been the fitness trainer, Joey. Thank you guys for listening. We'll get you out of here in about just a little over 30 minutes. We'll see you guys for the next one. Peace.